I'm Marv Albert. Later on, I'll be joined by the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, for the 10-round welterweight matchup between British Commonwealth champion Gary "Kid" Jacobs, who is going up against the one-time...
Isn't that a tremendous advantage for you to be fighting in the felt form before New York fans and New York judges?
Well, Freddie, it makes me feel good to know that I'm fighting at home, but once I get in the ring, I don't really think about it.
Why'd you take such a gamble? Here's a guy you don't know anything about, and with 5 days' notice, you're going in there against a tough fighter in Jacobs.
Well, I consider myself a fighter, and a fighter has to be ready at all times. And I have to prove that I'm ready for a championship. I'm always in good shape, and I'm ready to take on a championship. I can't let an opportunity like this pass me by.
Do you train differently? Do you do anything different knowing it's a completely different opponent that you're training for now?
Not at all. I just put my mind to it, and I know that this is a step up towards the title, so I just train the same way, and I just keep on marching through.
Do you realize you've stumbled once with Warren, you stumbled against Meldrick Taylor. If you stumble this time, do you think you can go anywhere in boxing?
Not at all. That's why I have to take everyone seriously, and if my toe hurts from now on, I won't even fight. So right now I feel in great shape, and I'm ready to put the hurt on Gary Jacobs.
Okay, the last thing is your weight. You're stepping up in weight. You're going to a bigger category. You went way up to 155. All of a sudden, you find out you got to come down. How did you do that? Did your weight come down easily? Did it affect you?
Well, I just told my mother don't send me any more food, and I just stopped eating mom's cooking, and it came off easily.
All right. If Jacobs fights as he's fought before, he'll be in your face the whole time. He won't give you time to get the jab off. What do you plan to offset that fierce style of Jacobs?
Well, you know, I'm just going to take Jacobs to school. He's going to come in and put his face in, but he's going to put his face into this. So if he wants to do that, that's up to him. But once he get hit with these, I don't think he's going to want to come in anymore.
And when we come back, we'll visit with a 23-year-old from Glasgow, Scotland. There he is, getting ready, Gary "Kid" Jacobs. Last year, and he stopped Javier Suazo in the 10th round in Las Vegas. Jacobs, who had been a well-kept secret amongst American fight fans, easily defeated Suazo. Then back home on familiar turf in Great Britain, Jacobs, defending his British Commonwealth welterweight crown, went up against unbeaten contender George Collins, and Jacobs came away with a 12-round decision. Now on the verge of a world title fight against WBA champ Mark Breland, Jacobs faces the toughest test of his career as he takes his record of 25-1, stepping up in class against James "Buddy" McGirt, who will be fighting in his home arena.
Gary "Kid" Jacobs in a park in the middle of the Big Apple. What do you think of New York? This is the first time you've been to the Big Apple?
It's the first time I've been in New York, and I've only been here for like 2 days, so I couldn't give an opinion yet. And I'm sure it's good enough.
But you have been in country for a period of weeks training for another fight. Where are you, at the Concord?
I was staying at the Concord Hotel. I've been up there for 3.5 weeks already.
So training for this fight really wasn't interrupted. It was, you were training for a fight, and all of a sudden you're notified you got a different opponent. How does that change your training?
It doesn't change the training at all. It's just a different opponent. It's 3 days after. I'm ready for the fight anyway, and it's also a better class of opponent.
Don't you think this is a tremendous gamble to all of a sudden take on a New York fighter in the felt form, his home, with New York judges, when you got a possibility of a title shot if you just win with anybody?
Boxing's a big gamble. Buddy McGirt's the hometown boy. I always fight away from home, and no, not really. It's given me a great opportunity and a great chance.
It's been said that you looked at tapes of McGirt, and after 2 rounds, you just turned it off and said, I don't need to see any more. Why was that?
That's right. You're only as good as your last fight. I watched his last fight, and I watched 2 rounds of it, and that's all I need to see of any fighter. I don't really worry about other fighters. I let them worry about me.
And we are awaiting the entrance of Gary "Kid" Jacobs, out of Glasgow, Scotland, now living in London, a record of 25-1, 12 by knockout. His one loss early in his career in June of '86, dropped a 10-round decision, Dave Douglas, and here comes Jacobs. He did beat Douglas in a rematch. Jacobs' last fight, June 27th in England, he stopped Roland Williams in the first round, an unusual early ending for most Jacob opponents. The nickname "Kid" stemming from one-time British world welterweight champion Ted "Kid" Lewis and one-time junior welterweight champ Jackie "Kid" Berg, who fought in 1930. Lewis champion in 1915. Lewis and Berg, like Jacobs, of the Jewish faith. Jacobs says he is one of 6,000 Jews in Glasgow. So Gary Jacobs awaiting the entrance of James "Buddy" McGirt. comes McGirt, 25-year-old out of Brentwood, Long Island, who has seen this ring here at the Felt Forum at Madison Square Garden on many an occasion. He has been a favorite in this area. Record of 43-2, one draw, 35 by knockout. He began his professional career in March of 1987. His first bout, a 4-round draw, then reeled off 6 straight knockouts. And of his 35 KOs, 11 have taken place in the first round. As we discussed earlier, he is a very fine counterpuncher who looks to change angles and then keep a safe distance between himself and his opponent to set up a counterattack, and that will be his plan here today against Gary Jacobs, who likes to muscle his way. We'll be back with the fight in a moment.
The lights on these cars are running on battery power alone. And in the end, only one, the car with a new die-hard battery.
Buddy McGirt and Gary Kid Jacobs. As we check out the statistics, a look at the tail of the tape. McGirt at 5'6½", 148 pounds. It has the reach advantage, 70 inches to 65 for Jacobs, who goes 5'8", 146 pounds. And now the always eagerly anticipated Fight Doctor RX. How do you break it down?
Well, Gary Jacobs has to use pressure to get inside, roughing up his opponent and avoiding his jab as he escalates the action after round 5, because McGirt tires under pressure, and this is where he has the advantage. McGirt, on the other hand, has got the opposite problem. He's got to keep him at the end of the jab, and he's got to try to get him early and not have it go to 10 rounds.
And under the New York State Athletic Commission, scoring is on the rounds system. There is no standing 8. 3 knockdown rule is in effect. The bell saves the fighter only in the final round. And the judges, Barbara Perez, the wife of referee Tony Perez, George Colon, one-time outstanding New York Golden Gloves boxer, and Billy Costello, the former WBC junior welterweight champion. We are set for the introductions. Let's go to the ring. Here's Ed Darien.
From the Big Apple, New York City's fabulous Felt Forum, here at Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. Madison Square Garden Boxing presents this afternoon's scheduled 10-round welterweight bout. In the ring at this time, the man in charge of the scheduled 10-round welterweight bout, referee Arthur Mercanzi. And now, my good friends, introducing the principals. First, in the blue corner, wearing the blue trunks with the white trim. He tipped in at an even 146 pounds. This young man has 25 wins, 1 loss with 12 knockouts. He is the British Commonwealth champion, all the way from Glasgow, Scotland. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome aboard Gary Kid Jacobs. And his opponent in the red corner, wearing the blue trunks with the white trim. He weighed in at an even 148 pounds. This young gentleman has 43 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, with 35 knockouts. He is ranked number 2 by the International Boxing Federation and number 10 by the World Boxing Council. And he is the former International Boxing Federation of the World Junior Welterweight Champion, Brentwood, Long Island's very own James Buddy McGirt.
Good afternoon, Gary, Buddy. You both know the rules of the New York State Athletic Commission. I expect you to obey them. Let's have a nice, clean fight. Touch gloves. Good luck to the both of you.
Referee Arthur Mercanti Jr., the son of one of the world's great referees, Arthur Mercanti Sr. This is scheduled for 10. And Gary Jacobs said yesterday he feels he can muscle McGirt against the ropes. He can pound away. He plans to smother McGirt, keep him off balance, while, as we touched on earlier, McGirt, you'd figure, would try to stay outside to use that superior hand speed.
He's got to use the jab to keep Jacobs off. This first round is going to set the pace, and this is what you're going to see because Gary Kid Jacobs fights one way, straight ahead. That's all he does. He's never going to change. He comes straight ahead. Both men wearing blue trunks. How many times have we seen the fight where both guys wear the same color?
We asked McGirt if he has had any difficulty. Oh, right hand by Jacobs. That did get in. And they also connected with the heads.
You're going to see a lot of hitting heads because that's the way Jacobs comes in with his head. He's got his head down like a billy goat, and he is going to get warned a lot.
We'd asked McGirt whether he had ever had difficulty with southpaws, and he said no, although he did not have an impressive outing against Baltazar back on the 9th of July. He did win a 10-round decision against Tony Baltazar, but survived a first-round thumbing and then a second-round knockdown.
And it was a big knockdown. It wasn't just a little one, but he got up and he fought well. But faint but damning praise because Baltazar is not quite the opponent that he used to be, and they figured McGirt was going to have an easy time. He didn't. He had a very hard time, and he won the fight, but it took some of the bloom off the rose. Nice right hand by McGirt, a straight right. That's the counter punching that we're looking for from McGirt. He's waiting to pick his shot. That right hand was a perfect example of what he wants to do.
Just under 1 minute left in this opening round. Up until his last two fights, Buddy McGirt had fought as a 140-pound junior welterweight. He was, we're told, up to 155 last week when his manager Al Certo accepted today's fight. He had been training to face veteran Gene Hatcher on the 14th of September, but then changed his plans when that Rosario Suarez fight fell through.
And there is a light year in difference between Gene Hatcher, who everybody thought was retired 2 or 3 years ago, and this young man, Gary Kid Jacobs, who was on his way to fight Breland when he decided to step in New York and take this horrendous chance that he's taken today.
Rosario forced to pull out of the bout scheduled for today because of a hand injury suffered while training. And we have come to the end of this first round.
Stiff right hand by McGirt. Might just have won that round for him. They were going along very evenly with McGirt landing the harder punches than the better punches. But Jacobs carrying the fight to him, as we figured. That's the way this fight should go. So that every good hard punch that McGirt lands in counter punches piling up points for him. The other side of that coin is that Gary Jacobs takes a very good shot, and he waits to wear you out in the later rounds. So that's the chess game we've got going right now.
Jacobs is not a typical stand-up British European style boxer, more of a swarmer. Tries to muscle opponents against the ropes, although he has not been able to succeed in that matter to this point with McGirt.
He is an awkward fighter. He's a left-hander, yet he switches back and forth. He's coming in low. He's got his head down. That's why they call him the Billy Goat. That's why McGirt calls him the Billy Goat. And he's just an awkward young man. The one thing that everyone from England says is his consistency. He's just there all 10 rounds. And much like Frankie Warren was at the top of his form, you just couldn't expect any break. McGirt has a way of getting frustrated after the gas and not jab as much, and of course that's what Jacobs is counting on. Nice uppercut by Jacobs just now.
We are live on NBC Sports World from the Felt Forum at Madison Square Garden in New York. Marv Albert with the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco. 1 minute to go in the second round. It is scheduled for 10.
Jacobs has been carrying this round, but he has been getting gonged every once in a while. McGirt just measures him perfectly.
And McGirt looking to control the bout with the jab. Want to stay on the ropes, and he just did get hammered.
Beautiful shot, beautiful right hand by Jacobs there.
Jacobs very strong and well-conditioned, maybe the strongest fighter that McGirt has ever faced. Also, McGirt not accustomed to going against a full-blown welterweight. And Jacobs is strong. On the other hand, the quality of opposition that Jacobs has faced has not been top line, as it has been in the case of Buddy McGirt. We'll be back with round number 3 in a moment.
Flurry of action in the corner, and watch Jacobs land a perfect little right hand here. Whop, there it is. Those are the kind that build up the points and weaken Buddy McGirt.
Watch the head.
Referee just said, watch the head to Jacobs. Jacobs just winked at the referee. You think that means anything?
Trying to use his charm.
It happened. Worked on your old man. I don't know about you.
And this is round 3.
Well, there was the expectancy of upset in the air here as I talked to people at ringside while we were waiting for this. I said, you've got something in store for you. You think this is going to be an easy fight for McGirt? And of course, look at the way he swaps. Look at the way he changes back and forth. He goes left hand, he goes right hand, and he comes in with his head. He's hard. Jacob is a hard man to fight. Good footwork by McGirt. McGirt knows how to counterpunch very, very well. Great right hand by McGirt.
McGirt's best punch is a left hook, but he can do damage with either hand, as we just saw.
Well, he just weakened Jacobs' resolve considerably. He wavered in the wind there. He really got hit. He got hammered. Let's see what he can do over 1 minute and 50 seconds. Can he shake it off?
This is only the second time that Jacobs has fought in the United States. He had a Las Vegas fight a year ago. He is the British Commonwealth welterweight champion, and in line to go up against the WBA welterweight champ Mark Creel in a fight that would take place in London. But first, he must get past Buddy McGirt.
This is not one of your best managerial moves of the year. To put this guy in here with McGirt, who's one of the great developed New York fighters in a New York arena with New York judges, when he's got a title on the line. And this, his first quality opponent, as you pointed out, is another good right hand by McGirt.
British boxing circles, there has been some criticism of the management of Gary "Kid" Jacobs for taking this bout.
Well, this round is certainly McGirt's round. He has twice rocked Jacobs. Jacobs has never been down. He has a terrible duel. He's got a very strong chin and no punch, which means you're going to be here for all 10 rounds.
Yes, Jacobs, while a tough customer, does not have one-punch knockout power. When he's come up with KOs, he's done it with combinations, and over his career, 26 professional fights, he has only won 12 by knockout. Little submarine move by Jacobs. We are final seconds of round 3.
Until now, dandruff shampoos have done one thing well.
It got rid of my dandruff.
It got rid of New York State is on the rounds system. What does your scorecard tell us?
I've got it 2-1. McGirt taking that last round, and if it was a 10-point scoring system, I would have had to think about that round because he dominated Jacobs. Even though Jacobs kept fighting, he was wobbled twice with good right hands by McGirt.
On the subject of the scoring, New York State Boxing Commissioner Randy Gordon tells us in 3 weeks they will be changing to the 10-point must system to avoid some of the complications on the round system.
It's sort of difficult to understand this round system. I'm glad they're going to the 10-point must. Difficult as it is, it makes sense.
Well, the problem with the round system is that it includes supplemental scoring if rounds are even. While scoring a fight is always subjective, there is an extra element added in here.
Yeah, that element is confusion. Nobody understands what that supplemental means.
And now McGirt starting to go with the jab effectively.
Well, Jacobs is sticking his plan to be right in front of him and hope that he pays off in the last 5 rounds when they've told him that McGirt tires. And right now, McGirt is just boxing beautifully, counter-punching, taking everything Jacobs has and winning these rounds.
Right hand by McGirt that got in on Jacobs.
Jacobs seems to have no defense at all. Carelessness. He just seems to be completely without caution. He just comes in and hopes to land his punches and doesn't care what happens to him in return. He better have some plans about blocking that right hand or slipping the right hand, or else McGirt will gong that off his head all night long. More of the McGirt jab than we've seen previous to now. We thought he would dominate at the beginning with that jab. He's certainly using it now, keeping his man in the middle of the ring, off the ropes.
And now blood from the nose of Gary Jacobs.
The sure sign that the jab is doing its duty.
Grazing left hand by McGirt. And we have come to the end of round 4. One man for Gary Jacobs did some repair work between rounds. Gallagher, New York City product. Also in the corner, Bobby Neal, British trainer who guided Alan Minter and Lloyd Honeyghan to world championships. Jacobs was the best man at Neal's wedding last September in Las Vegas.
You should trust him then.
Yes.
Oh, a little spin and hit. Not nice by McGirt, but he got away with it.
Referee Arthur Mercanti Jr. Opening minute, round number 5. And the Fight Doctor scorecard has it 3-1 in favor of McGirt.
McGirt has been teaching Gary Jacobs a lesson, what happens when you step up in quality. No one doubted Jacobs' heart or his resolve or his ability to mix it up. It's just that when you get in with Buddy McGirt, he's not going to mix it up with you. He's going to move away, he's going to give you angles, jab you silly, and every time that he can, he's going to land it straight right in.
You look at the career of McGirt, his 2 defeats. He lost his junior welterweight crown, stopped in 12 by Melvin Taylor last September. He's won 5 straight since then. The other loss, he dropped a 10-round decision to Frankie Warren. That was back in 1986, but he avenged that with a victory over Warren in Warren's hometown of Corpus Christi, Texas, and that gave him the title.
There's a fight that Jacobs has to make right inside there against the ropes. His corner, McGirt's corner, has been screaming off the ropes, and of course, that's exactly the fight that we have said Gary Jacobs has to do. Push him to the ropes, rough him up, land strong inside shots.
Isn't it odd? Here is Jacobs, who is known to be very strong, looks to muscle his opponent, but does not have the knockout punch. Just can't put the power together.
Boy, McGirt is fighting back well after taking a pummeling on the ropes and getting roughed up. He is fighting very well, is McGirt.
Coming up to 10 seconds to go in this fifth round. It is slated for 10. James Buddy McGirt, 25 years old, New York City product against Scotland's Gary Kid Jacobs. By Al Serto and Howie Albert, what are you doing out there? And Buddy replied, I'm just taking a little rest.
And they said, don't rest, don't load up on those punches, do what you were doing. And I think that was exactly the right capsule for that round. He rested, he got caught against the ropes, he let Jacobs get brave, he let Jacobs take the round. It's now 3-2. These are quite unofficially, of course, my rounds, my opinion, but Jacobs came back hard, pushed him against the ropes, had his kind of fight that he wanted, and McGirt blew that round because he was rested.
Serto telling him to use the jab, use the jab. Oh, a right hand used by McGirt.
Somewhere in McGirt's mind must be thinking, what do I have to do to put this guy down? Those are wonderful right hands McGirt has caught Jacobs with. Well, Jacobs has never had an idea of defense, and it's never cost him as much as you can see right now. Hands held low, almost defiantly walking in and getting hammered.
Hands dangerously low, and he is getting caught here in the sixth round as we come up to the midway point.
And this is what I meant when I said he had to pay a terrible price to come in. McGirt had to make him pay a big price coming in. Of course, that's what you're seeing this round. He is paying a price to come in. It's Jacobs. Jacobs comes in and has to pay a heavy toll.
Jacobs trying to take advantage with McGirt against the ropes, but it is McGirt able to connect with the combination to spin out.
Again, the left hand held so dangerously low by Jacobs, cost him a good shot to the head.
Jacobs stumbled, actually tripped by McGirt.
His balance is not so wonderful as a fighter. First of all, he can't quite make up his mind whether he's a left hand or right hand. It's almost a crab-like style that he's got. Not since Norton have I seen a guy have that crazy a look when he comes in. You just don't know what you're fighting here.
You're talking of Ken Norton, not Ed Norton.
No, Kenny Norton, a very, very good heavyweight.
Very puffy under the eyes of Gary Kid Jacobs.
And for the first time, Jacobs looked wearily to the clock.
And the clock showing final second, round 6. Chatting with Gary Kid Jacobs, 23 years old, from Glasgow, Scotland, now living in London.
Let's go, baby.
Record of 25-1, 12 by knockout. And James Buddy McGirt getting set to come out of his corner, 25 years old, from Brentwood, Long Island, some 45 miles outside of New York City. McGirt at 43-2, one draw, 35 by knockout.
And McGirt doing pretty well. That last round was a good round for McGirt. He woke up after that talking to in the corner. He's gone back to counter punching, and he is demonstrating that he's a master of the counter punch.
In the welterweight division, the WBA title holder, Mark Breland, and Jacobs could end up going up against Breland in London. WBC title holder is Marlon Starling, and perhaps the best of the three from the IBF, Simon Brown.
Simon is a very tough champion. Right now, neither of these men are thinking championship. They got plenty of problem right in front of them, and the biggest problem is coming to Gary Jacobs, who is beginning to break up under both eyes, bleeding from the nose from these savage counter punches by Buddy McGirt. Notice how Jacobs keeps changing from left to right, coming in with his head down, doing almost anything to discombobulate McGirt. McGirt playing with him right now.
Well, that shot saw Jacobs lose his balance once again.
He just has horrible balance. His feet are just about crisscross. He's doing everything but dancing to a bagpipe here, but he doesn't look like he has even a semblance of the idea of balance. Of course, those right hands catch him with his feet all crossed up. They look like they're much heavier than they are.
We have more boxing coming up next Sunday here on Sports World from Pensacola, Florida. Roy Jones and Ron Amundsen, 8-round junior middleweight bout. For Jones, it will be his third professional fight, coming about 1 year after that heartbreak at the Seoul Olympics. That'll be next Sunday on Sports World.
Well, the expected exhaustion of McGirt has not materialized. He looks fresh as a daisy, but Jacobs is beginning to look tired and very worn. And added to that is a frustration because he doesn't know what to do with McGirt's boxing style.
Some support here for Gary Jacobs, although this has been a Buddy McGirt crowd. Chant of Gary just a moment ago as we move toward the end of round 7. And a nice combination by McGirt. We'll be back in a moment. They just said you're not firing enough. You have to go for broke in rounds 8, 9, and 10.
That's very good advice because right now he's behind 5 rounds to 2. And if he won the next 3 rounds, he'd have a draw unless we come to the dreaded supplemental point system. And I'll leave it up to you to tell me who won after that.
The dreaded supplemental point system. That, of course, on the Fight Doctor scorecard, and the scoring in New York State is on what is labeled the rounds system. Albert with the Fight Doctor, Freddie Pacheco from the Felt Forum at Madison Square Garden. This is the finale for boxing at the Felt Forum. Madison Square Garden in the midst of a refurbishing program, so their boxing in the interim will move uptown to the Beacon Theater, a one-time movie house and concert hall.
Jacobs has taken his advice seriously. He's begun to fight much harder, and where he should have been all during the beginning of the fight into the stomach, into the upper body of McGirt, he has now started to plant very hard punches, and it looks like it had an effect. Oh, there's the low one. An effect on McGirt. McGirt has stopped fighting.
Flurry may have resulted in McGirt getting hurt by Jacobs. He just put a halt on.
Well, those are those 2 big thumping body shots that opened the exchange before that were really on target. It just looked like the legs went out from under McGirt, and he doesn't look steady right now.
Very strong body shots by Jacobs to slow McGirt down in this 8th round. And now McGirt trying to turn it up. Uppercut by McGirt.
McGirt has caught his breath, and he's trying to win this round back.
Able to elude those wind-up attempts by Jacobs, and then looks to conclude with that flurry. So that is the end of round 8, and we talked about the series of body punches by Gary Jacobs, and it stopped James Buddy McGirt in his tracks right here. And McGirt slowed down, but then was able to get back into it in the latter stages of the 8th round. We'll be back here at the Garden in a moment.
Throw your punches from every angle and don't stop. We need these last 2 rounds. Well, he's not quite done off the fighting that he did in the last half, but I still gave the round to Gary Jacobs because of his concentrated body attack that seemed to paralyze McGirt for the first 2 minutes of that round.
So you have it on the round system, 5-3 in favor of Buddy McGirt over Gary Jacobs.
Ooh, terrific right hand by McGirt. Back to his old form of counter-punching and boxing beautifully. It's curious that not once in the corner did I hear anybody say to Jacobs, go right down to that body. That's what stopped him. Go right to the body. They're just telling him throw punches from all angles.
Nice uppercut again by McGirt that succeeded. Same occurred in the 8th round. And on the line for Gary Jacobs, a title shot. If he loses to McGirt, he could blow that title fight. He's in line to match up with WBA welterweight champion Mark Breland in February. Jacobs was actually brought to New York to be showcased to the American media with an easy touch fight, but then with Edwin Rosario, Lupe Suarez falling out because of that injury suffered by Rosario, he took today's bout on short notice, as did McGirt.
Well, that could be one of the worst managerial moves of the year. On the other hand, how many times have we seen that if he keeps this up and he has a very close decision, he doesn't hurt himself, much like Dokes didn't hurt himself losing to Evander Holyfield, because he's put up a very good battle with McGirt thus far.
That is the other point of view, because he certainly has not embarrassed himself in any way, and they probably still could justify a matchup with Mark Breland.
Especially when Breland's management is not anxious to have a very tough fight, but a guy he might be able to beat. So you look at this and say, looks good, maybe he can beat him.
So what you're saying now, as we change the tone a bit from the earlier rounds, because Jacobs has hung in, looked decently, he could still get a shot at Breland. And that chant is for Gary Jacobs. Seconds remaining in the 9th round. This bout is scheduled for 10.
This has been a pretty even round, with McGirt maybe having the edge because of ring generalship and the way that he puts these counter punches together. But there's Jacobs back to the attack on the ropes.
Good round for Gary Jacobs. We'll be back with the 10th and final round after these messages. Gary Jacobs going up against this man, James Buddy McGirt, one-time IBF junior welterweight champion.
Well, there's a marked difference in each corner. Jacobs' corner, a great deal of urgency. They know they need a big round, and they don't have a puncher that can win by KO. He's got to impress. And in the other corner, Serto seemed to be more interested in taking deep breaths and having water than he did in instructions. He just said, keep doing what you're doing. And, of course, he may be right. McGirt's ahead, unofficially.
You have it, what, six rounds to 3?
Yep. In other words, even if Jacobs should win this last round, McGirt would still win the fight. Of course, that's extremely unofficial. Although I have to say that being in New York with all New York judges and so forth, there's maybe an American fighter where we're used to seeing counter punchers and good-looking fighters like McGirt. He should be able to take this fight on points, but it's not over till we hear the decision.
And the judges are Billy Costello, the one-time WBC junior welterweight champion, George Colon, Barbara Perez. 1 minute gone by in this 10th and final round. Wrong combination by McGirt.
McGirt's proving that he can counterpunch. Gary Jacobs is proving he can take a shot and keep coming back.
And Gary Jacobs now with a large mouse under his left eye.
This has been a courageous performance on the part of Gary Jacobs. They said he was tough. They said he kept going, and they weren't lying. That's exactly what we've seen.
Good counter work by McGirt. McGirt has taken over this round as we come up on 1 minute to go in the fight. Lunging left hook by McGirt, who then is able to elude the punches of Jacobs. Nice combination again by McGirt.
Jacobs is getting painted. You see getting plastered, but he's still right in his face.
And we're down to 35 seconds remaining on the bout. And Buddy McGirt now looking very confident. McGirt, the former IBF Junior welterweight champion, and Gary "Kid" Jacobs, the British Commonwealth welterweight champ, going the distance here in the finale at the Felt 4 at Madison Square Garden. Final seconds of the fight. A good one. We'll be back with the decision right after these messages. The crowd on its feet.
In today's higher...
Here's Ed Darian.
Ladies and gentlemen, the scoring by rounds as follows. Judges Barbara Perez and Billy Costello each score 8-2, while Judge Georgie Colon, he watched the fight at 7-3. For the winner by unanimous decision, James Buddy McGirt.
That is exactly how the fight doctor had it on the scorecard. In rounds, McGirt 7, Jacobs 3. Now let's get